Hello, Namaste, Namaskar. Hope you all are doing well. Welcome to this new episode of Making Way to #Inclusive Community, a collaborative initiative by Little Storytellers and Bachpan Ke Pitare Se. As we all know that books play an integral part in course of child's development. It helps in creating awareness, critical thinking. Reading book is an excellent source which is easily available. Authors, especially children's author, play a vital role while creating children's literature. What are we waiting for? Today we have with us one such author. She is none other than Shyamala Shanmugasundaram, a prize winning children's author, freelancer writer, and chief ideator of Kahani Tatbak. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Deepa.
So, one thing that I would like to ask you is, what does inclusion and diversity mean to you?
Oh my, this is such a difficult question, and that too the first question. For me,
Yeah.
inclusion and diversity, I think, is about creating spaces where everyone feels comfortable to express themselves. Because today, the climate has become such that even if you're allowed to start expressing yourself, you're not allowed to kind of complete what you're saying, or just your existence is not validated. So I think it's very important for these safe spaces to be created where one feels
Mm.
comfortable in their own skin to
Mm.
express their
Mm.
thoughts.
Very rightly said. Yes, we need to give space to, a safe space. So, Deepa, uh, I would like you to come up with your ideas and questions.
Yes. Actually, I had read the story that you had written, ma'am. It was so well put. But then there was this question, why this particular story? What triggered you to write about Suri and that too in a school setting? Because in schools we don't expect, I should not say see, but we don't expect kids to behave the way these kids behaved with Suri. So what triggered you to write this story in the school setting? It's all about the stereotypes that we see in adults in the society. So if you could share your inputs on that.
So, Painted Walls of Malay is a picture book which Anthony Gurus has illustrated and I have written for Tulika. So, this
Yes.
book was inspired by mural artist Abha Bhagwat from Pune. And it was inspired by my interaction with my house help in Chennai. So I recently shifted to Mumbai, and my house help in Chennai, in the pre-pandemic mode, was talking to me about her neighborhood, which is called Kannagi Nagar. It is India's fifth art district and Chennai's first art district. What they did was they invited nearly 15 to 16 artists. Some of them were from abroad, some were from Tamil Nadu, and the rest were from other parts of India. So they invited these artists to come and paint one wall of every building. So Kannagi Nagar is a group of settlements which was kind of given to people who were displaced due to road widening projects or due to the floods in Chennai, and for some other reason. And through my interaction with my house help, I came to know about this art project, what was happening there. And she would also tell me, she told me one particular thing about her son. When her son was about to have a birthday, he kind of refused to go to school if he wasn't given a new set of clothes. And that was some reason kind of stuck in my brain. And it was kind of, so Abha Bhagwat, who has always inspired me. I've seen her beautiful murals on Facebook, and she's one of the few mural artists we have in India. Fabulous art, vibrant colors. And I've always been wanting to explore her art and her trait traits as an artist. And when I came to know that there were mural artists who were women and who were working on the Kannagi Nagar project, so all
Mhm.
these two things kind of just meshed
Mhm.
together and came out as an idea. So does that make sense?
Yes, of course, and definitely this conversation is
Uh,
leading us to know about so many new things. Art district, the term that you used, this is a new term for me, and I'm sure for Nina also. Like, we never knew that such projects are happening. It's such
Yeah,
a
yeah,
for
beautiful
me, I
thing.
think, Deepa, mural paintings, Delhi is flooded with
yes,
such
yes,
paintings
No, no,
all over.
mural paintings are
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I know about mural
Yeah.
paintings, painting the walls, but painting an entire district or a set of buildings,
Hmm.
that was new to
It's
me.
just
Murals I have seen
yeah,
all
That
it's
around.
one. It's
because in
one
Bangalore,
wall of every building that has been painted, and I think for
Mm.
the initial project they chose some 10, 15 buildings, and
Uh-huh.
yes.
one of these walls was painted by children. It was they got children
Yes,
uh,
Hmm.
to undergo an art camp, and they kind of painted it. So
yes.
Hmm.
that's why my character Suri, that's where I drew inspiration from. And I also chose a school setting because there's a lot of stuff which happens in schools away from, the
Parents,
teacher's eyes. It's
and
there are
adults.
some vibes you pick up when you
Correct.
are a silent observer and not in the forefront leading in the classroom. When you're sitting in the back bench or you being a silent observer, there's so much you see the
Correct.
way they treat each other. I mean, they do love each other, but also they take each other for granted and just assume that some kind of behavior where you indulge in bullying is totally accepted and it's totally normalized.
Correct. And because this character, the way he was bullied and dealt with, especially on his birthday, by the other kids, and especially mentioning that his torn shoes and shorts, that was something, okay, that was something that made me ask you this question. So, and then there was the subtle mention of the displacing of people due to the widening of the roads or the rail project or anything, like so many developmental activities are happening all around our country, but hardly
Mm.
have we thought about those people. And
Mm.
this also brings to my notice, I'm not sure if it is correct or not, but then the people who undergo this displacement, they know
Mm.
what they are dealing with. For people like me
Yes.
who have always been in who have always lived in safe spaces, in
Mm.
apartments or colonies, well planned colonies, we have not
Mm.
faced. So we as normal human beings, like the common man, I have not
Mm.
faced it. I have not seen anyone facing all these issues. So the subtle
Mm.
mention of all these issues and how can it affect. So that was beautifully depicted. And this was
Thank you.
also like your expression of inclusion, if I'm correct.
Yes, because I think these stories need to be told, right? I mean, there are a whole lot of people when the floods hit Chennai. They were just told one day because the water entered their homes to just pack and just go to a settlement which was outside the outskirts of the city.
Hmm.
So which was once an outskirts is now part of the city because the city has been growing. And when
Yes.
Kannagi Nagar was set up, it had no livelihood opportunities, and most of the people who came in there were fishermen. They were living closer to the coast, and now they are suddenly in a place which is miles away from the sea. And also,
Uh-huh.
I think children get particularly affected. Some have lost their homes, some have lost their family in the floods, and then you are suddenly moved to a new place.
Hmm.
That entire mood is very, very unsettling for me to explore as a writer.
Correct. And then you beautifully mentioned, and somehow I felt that the lower economic group is the most affected in that particular
Yes.
story setup. I don't know,
Yes.
it was there for a purpose, because we often feel na those ये जो बस्ती वाले होते हैं, या the lower income groups, where these all these uh, what do we call that, the huts, the slums,
Settlement,
basically the slums.
slum area. Yeah.
Slums. So the slums are set
Mm.
up. We don't want these slums to be in the cities, because somehow they don't look good in cities, right? So that is one of the ways we can exclude them, put them out. Though we need those people for our work, but then we don't
Yeah.
want to live near us. So is this
Mm.
what you were addressing through that story also?
For me, it was, something like road development. We are turning the 2 lane into a 4 lane, a 4 lane into a 6 lane. Everybody wants to be quick
Hmm.
uh, in everything they do, reach from point A to point B. And it's like when you expand roads, you will have to displace some people, and expansion and development comes at a price. And
Yes.
it's always the people who don't have a voice. Uh, they are the ones who are displaced, and sometimes they have no choice. Middle class people, we have the comfort zone of a family. Some of them have 2 to 3 houses, so if one house is for some reason put in for
Mhm.
redevelopment, or it's about to be demolished, they can always move into the next one. It doesn't matter much. But for some
Hmm.
of these people who come from the lower strata of the society, that's the only home. That's the only space that they
Correct.
have invested in. And now to be suddenly, uh, to be
Evicted.
taken away from that
Mm.
space, that is quite traumatizing.
Correct. Ma'am, why picture book? This is such a topic that we as adults need to think about. The governments need to be reasonable on creating all these things, doing all these things. So, why did you put this story in a picture book, that too for a children? And why not a short story or a novel that was meant to be adults? This is something that was like, I was very curious to know.
Hmm. So, I'm a visual person, and when I think about a story, sometimes it comes in the form of images. And this is one of the books which kind of came that way. And for me, it's very important that hope is something all of us, children, be it adults, be it hope, be it a child, we need to grow with hope, because if we take away hope, there's nothing to look forward for. All right. Look forward
Mhm.
to. And I think it's very important that no matter where we are, it's just important that you've got to have something cheerful uh,
Mhm.
to live with and to look forward to. That's a nice way. No matter how bad your circumstances are, you have to always look at the bright side. And I think that's a coping mechanism, not just for children, but for adults also. But it's I think, as you say, it's adults who are more complicated. We find as we keep growing, we are looking for perfection around us, but children don't care.
Yes.
Their hearts are big. For them every moment matters, and they just enjoy what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something we need to learn from kids. And I didn't have much of a story to develop into a anthology story or a chapter book or a middle grade. I think if I put enough thought, then probably that could have come, but it just happened organically. So I just went through it.
Okay. Cool, cool.
I
So,
think it was very interesting even when I was going through it. Each time the pictures were there, like, words, a few words, but the picture,
Yeah.
every time we say that picture says it all. That was the
Yes.
thing that
exactly.
came into my mind. How, as far as Deepa was talking about the walls being painted. So this, what I wanted to clarify is when I was in Delhi, there
Hmm.
were, all the government quarters, they had the walls, the complete walls, mural paintings were done by artists coming from
Yes.
various places, not just India,
Yes.
but from
Yeah.
various places, along with and children were there. They're so enthusiastic, they used to be there, and it was like people were like taking selfies. And so this is
Yeah,
the connect
yeah,
that I felt with that. And
yeah,
it was like, oh, sharing on Instas and all those things.
yeah.
So I think this is one way of connecting with the people.
Yes.
When we are talking about hope, the hope and
Yeah.
the wish that Suri had, and which was fulfilled. He had wished two things. One, his
Mm,
sister said, will never happen. But the
mm,
second thing happened because she was right when she said that, because that was their situation. And
mm,
the second thing, I think, blink of the eye, it happened for Suri. And
mm,
that really will go down well with our listeners also,
mm.
because, what we are trying to do is like, a drop in the ocean to bring in
Yes.
the concept of inclusion.
Yeah.
So when we talk
Mhm.
about this book, then I
Mm.
recently came up with another book of yours, a non-fiction, which you have I think it's your first book that you have co-authored with
Yes.
Kirti Pai, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that,
Dr. Kirti
I
Pai.
think the title, like vanilla, chocolate, and all the scoop, that immediately was like, oh, what kind of, why this title? So
Mm.
my question is, the book that you have co-authored with Kirti, I think she's a psychologist for young
Yes.
adults and parents. So can you just tell us more about it?
So, the book Chocolate, Strawberry, and Vanilla: A Teenager's Guide to Choices. This is for teenagers, and Dr. Kirti Pai, who's a clinical psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
and we wrote this book exclusively for teenagers. But when we published the book and when we started doing our promotions, we had
Mm,
parents and educators tell us that this is a book not just for teens, but also for
mm,
parents and educators, because sometimes
mm,
uh, kids, teens especially, are very tough to understand. And as we grow
mm.
older, we kind of distance ourselves, and we change the lens through which we are viewing our child.
Correct.
It becomes very distant, and
Mm,
we need to kind of approach the child, approach the teen, come closer and understand that. So this book is like a bridge for to communicate with the with teens. And Dr. Kirti Pai, she deals with teens and parents every single day. So it was a normal choice for us because she is a mother, I'm a mother, and we, in our respective roles, as me as a writer, as a creative writing teacher, and Kirti as a clinical psychologist, we keep meeting a lot of teens, and it was just something which flowed naturally.
okay. So now the title, coming on to the title part. The title is intriguing. How did you come about the title?
See,
What
for me,
prompted you? Like,
it was I think today's generation has too many choices. So when you think of our childhood,
uh,
you just had
uh,
3 4 flavors, right? There was chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, and there is the pista ice cream. You go to any
yeah.
ice cream store, that's all we had,
Ah,
right? But today
yes.
you look at something like Baskin Robbins.
Ah, correct.
Children have variety, and you even given a spoon to taste different flavors before making a choice.
Yeah,
Which flavor you
correct.
want. That's like too many choices, and
Ah,
that really boggles you. Hmm.
ah, true, very
So
true.
it sometimes you just feel that I wish choices could be just simple, right? Give me three
Ah,
choice A, B, C, and I'll just select that, right? So we're
ah,
just coming from that space, and just went ahead with
ah,
title with the hope, that making a choice could be easy.
correct. When you talk, mentioned about how you selected, especially for teens, the choices for making choices. One thing
Mm,
that came to my mind was when I was recently, I think Deepa can also relate with that. When we were, having one interview with, or for the series with a
mm,
parent of an autistic adult, she
mm,
mentioned about using an app to give him, select his choice of food. So there
mm,
she was mentioning about how she started with one or two choices. later on, that, she increased the choices.
Hmm.
So I
Yes.
think this book will definitely relate with most of the parents when it comes to
Hmm.
the teens, and they are not just teens but even parents. It was rightly said. So next thing that I wanted to ask you is, this is your first book as a co-author, right? So
Yeah.
how was the experience of working with Dr. Kirti? So mixing ideas, creating a common narrative, so that too, when two people are working on it, should be acceptable from both the sides. So how was that
Yes.
experience?
Kirti and I have known each other for 29 years. We met when we were in our early 20s, and we've been
Wow.
friends. And every now and then we go out of touch, and we remain silent for years together. And suddenly, out of nowhere, we will bump into each other and start that instant connection. So, writing a book for us is one way of spending time with each other, because our busy lives don't allow us that exclusive time. There has to be something to bind us, and the book is one of the ways which kind of brought us together. And we do have, if you look at the book, it's a collection of stories, and then there are explanation for these stories, and there are lots of concepts which kind of explain the teenager why they have made certain choices. So with Kirti's experience, what she's done is that she's brought out those tiny nuances of what goes behind making these choices. What is the
Mhm.
science behind it? Because that is so important. Sometimes we make a choice, and when
Yeah,
we look back, like, why did I make that choice? What was I thinking? It doesn't make sense at all.
correct, correct.
And she's brought in that science, so that makes it a very beautiful read, which helps us understand ourselves. And we do have a
Ah,
section, uh, you know, which tells them that how do you make a choice, and what is it? There are different kind of choices, and what is it that you must keep in mind when you make
ah,
a choice, because choices are totally dependent on our on how
ah,
you're feeling that day. Some day maybe may feel like procrastinating, or some days we may feel
correct,
like being perfect. So and
correct,
and
correct.
we're bombarded by choices from the time we wake up. Even to
Mm-hmm.
wake up and brush our teeth is a choice, right? From the
Yes,
time
Yes.
we wake up till the time we sleep, every moment is a choice. And some
true.
choices are easy because over and over we just kind of keep do what you're
Huh.
going to wear, all that. But sometimes it becomes the moment step out of our comfort zone, for us
True.
it's very difficult to make a
Yeah, true.
choice.
Very true. Very true. So I think that has answered my query. Uh, do you think this generation of kids have it easy while making choices?
I think yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Because they they have access to internet, right? So the internet is
Yeah.
overflowing with data, so it kind of
Mm-hmm.
helps them make informed choices. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other side, they are also overwhelmed because there are too many choices, be it
True.
career, or be it
Mm-hmm.
food, or the clothes they wear, shoes they wear, anything. So that and also there's the
Mm-hmm.
peer pressure and the social media. So it's very difficult to kind of, and everybody wants to be accepted. So it's a very, very
Mm-hmm.
tricky path to you know to just make the right choice, and every choice you make, you want to be accepted by a peer group.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, very, very tricky territory, but they are doing well. And I think as they keep going forward, they will evolve much faster than us, because uh, they
Mm-hmm.
have they have developed brains. They're less
Correct.
emotional, and
Mm-hmm.
more rational. At least that's my observation. It could be because of my perspective of interacting with one set of children. I don't know if I
Yeah.
that could speak for the rest of teens as well.
Yeah, that's true. That varies. Uh, so when we go to this, when we go through this book, at the end of the book, we come across a lot of journaling happening, exercises at the end of the book, right? So, do you think that writing journals and reading books help in creating an inclusive community and empathy among children?
See, when it comes to books, I feel definitely yes, because when Painted Walls of Malay Nagar was released, I
Hmm.
remember having this conversation with a mom, and she said her child didn't know
Hmm.
what the slum was.
Oh,
Having lived in a city, in a
huh,
gated community, the child
huh,
has been traveling only um, through cars and school buses, and the slums
huh,
are nowhere on the route. So
uh,
it takes some time to actually explain to the child what is a slum and why
huh,
people are living there. So
hmm,
definitely yes. So that is where it's very important that we write books. There is this concept of mirrors and windows and sliding doors. The children
hmm,
learn to reflect their lives through books and also get a
yeah,
glimpse into others' lives too, which will kind of help them navigate relationships
hmm,
better. Because I think it's always it can't be like my way is the only way. I'm right all the time.
right,
You need to
very
respect
true.
others' views as well. You may not agree with it, but respect that.
Hmm,
Right. So
correct.
books do kind of
Yeah.
fill moments there. As far as
Hmm,
the journaling is concerned, I think it's very important that children journal, because um,
hmm,
today they don't have opportunities to kind of analyze their own emotions. And when we
correct.
talk something like self love, right, and
Hmm,
empathy, I mean,
hmm,
forget empathy world and other people, you have to learn to develop
correct.
empathy for yourself, and that's what
Correct.
self love is all about. And sometimes we are rushing in life so much, we don't have time to
Hmm,
pause and reflect. A journal kind of
hmm,
helps a child to lock that
hmm,
moment and reflect that a set of moments at a later time when one is calmer and much well composed and in a
hmm,
position to explore
correct.
those feelings.
Yeah, that's so true that. I think that is why it was rightly said long before that read maketh a man perfect and books are our best friends. Thank you so much, Shamla ma'am, for joining us and sharing your insights about books, reading the books that you have written and co-authored with Kirti Pai. Thanks once again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Deepa. Thank you for the opportunity, for wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts with your uh, listeners. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself.
It was a pleasure and honor to have you with us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
So it's a good way to explore, and definitely, as you said it is definitely hopeful. It is developing of the vocabulary, the right example that you gave na, about this child who is not aware of the slums. So
mm,
slum being a common word for us, but then it can be a new vocabulary for some child. So this is
Yeah,
correct.
how the
totally
books.
insulated from the real world.
Same here. This is what
True.
even I am bothered about my own child, because we also live in gated communities since the time she was born. But yes, all these things definitely help. And as a parent, I definitely make it a point that I take her to such areas. I at least show her while going somewhere, or I'll
Mm.
take a route to the market which goes
Mm.
from the slum,
Via.
or
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that she knows that there are people who are living in such ways,
Mm,
and how
mm,
Mm.
blessed she is to live in a gated community. So I
correct.
think
Correct.
this
Mm.
all has to be done by being a parent. It is our responsibility to show this part of the world to our children. And as
Mm.
authors, you are already doing your job.
Yeah,
And I just
yeah.
loved the book. I loved the book. I don't think it was meant for children. That's why I asked you the same. Because recently I've been exploring, rereading, going back to reading the picture books, and I feel that these are more for us as adults to read and understand and get a different
Understand.
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much for your feedback.
thank you. So, we would like to
I,
conclude this episode here with this
Yeah.
conversation, with this insightful conversation with Shyamala ma'am. Thank you so much.
true.
And we'll be back in another episode with some new stories, some new insights, with some new perspectives. Until then, keep listening to Bachpan Ke Pitare Se and Little Storytellers. And goodbye. Thank you. Have a good day. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.